talking about the different tiers of contenders that are currently in the NBA. In time, I am putting the Boston Celtics in a tier of their own. They're coming off of a generational regular season. They are bringing their entire core back, and their superstar player didn't even shoot well in the finals. Now, granted, Tatum's play does get underrated by the common NBA fan in the finals because his gravity was massive throughout that series, and if you watch those games, it was Dallas's entire game plan to stop Jason Tatum and let Boston's role players beat them. They're just too talented. They have too many guys. They have Derek White. They have Jaylen Brown. They have Porzingis when he comes back in December. They have Drew Holiday. They have a solid few guys off the bench like Hauser and Horford and Pritchard and now Lonnie Walker that just puts them in their own echelon of team at this current moment of time. What I'm going to call the heavy contenders tier, which is the best of the best outside of Boston. And I'm going to start with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are coming off of the number one seed in the Western Conference last year. They did lose in the second round to the Mavericks, but on paper, all they did was get better. They added Isaiah Hartenstein. They added Alex Caruso. They brought all of their core back besides Josh Giddey, who was really sticking out like a sore thumb for what Mark Daigneault was trying to do. And the Thunder are ready. They can switch. Their defense is going to be unbelievable throughout the season, and they're going to attempt a ton of threes. That's just going to make them a total nightmare to deal with in the Western Conference. Talk about is the defending Western Conference champion Dallas Mavericks. They're another team that's coming off of an amazing season that only got better on paper. They came out and shocked the world, beat Minnesota, beat Oklahoma City. They ran the gauntlet through the West and just ran into an elite Celtics team. But after only really losing Derek Jones Jr., they added Klay Thompson, they added Najee Marshall. They have a lot of scoring. They have two strong bigs in Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. And with Luka, they're going to be poised to make another deep run. Scares me a little bit. I'm still putting the Denver Nuggets in my heavy contender tier. When you have a guy like Nikola Jokic, you're always going to have a chance at a championship. We saw that a few years ago. He went on one of the best playoff runs we've seen out of a player in the last 20 years. He was generational from start to finish. Jamal Murray was fantastic in that playoffs well, and he's shown to be a big game guy despite his weak play in the Olympics. I mean, I'm still going to put a bunch of faith in a guy that has shown me a bunch of fantastic moments in big games. They still got Michael Porter Jr., they still got Aaron Gordon. Russ should be a solid sixth man off the bench. I'm just worried about those wings. Can Christian Braun step into that KCP role? Could Julian Strawther or Peyton Watson come out of nowhere and, be that guy for the Nuggets? Because if they want to be the champion, they're probably going to need one of those young guys to step up. I'm going to put in my heavy contender tier in the Western Conference is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're coming off their franchise's best season in the last 20 years. They have a bona fide superstar in Anthony Edwards. They have Rudy Gobert coming off of his fourth Defensive Player of the Year. You might not like him, but he is a damn good basketball player. They have two fantastic three-point shooters on the guard wing style in Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dante DiVincenzo. Mike Conley still has great basketball IQ and can shoot himself. It's all going to come down to Julius Randle. If he can fit in the Wolves system, they are a massive threat. And I mean potentially as big of a threat as the Thunder are. But it also just could not work. They're a team that I'm really interested in heading into this season. I really only think that there are two true heavy contenders coming out of the Eastern Conference with a chance to dethrone Boston. The first of them is the New York Knicks, who are one of the most interesting teams this offseason. They made two massive trades. They gave up their entire future for Mikal Bridges, and then, when realizing that Mitchell Robinson was going to be out for the first few months of the season, they traded Julius Randle to go get Karl Anthony Towns. Roster, you can just tell that they were built to try and beat the Celtics. The three elite switchable wing defenders in Anunoby, Bridges, and Hart starting every single game if they are healthy. Jalen Brunson being a superstar guard that can give you 35, 40 any night he wants, and Cat there for the spacing. My only worry for them is how will they be able to guard big men, and if they do, are they going to have to put Mitchell Robinson back in the starting five, because that could cause spacing issues. In the heavy contender tier is the one that I would say is probably on the fringe the most, but I think that the Philadelphia 76ers deserve it just because of their talent on paper. Embiid, Maxey, and PG should be the best big three in basketball. Martin's a solid addition. Getting a lot of depth like Andre Drummond. This should be the most depth the Sixers have had in a long, long time. But that one question is always going to be out there. Are they going to be healthy? Especially with Embiid and PG on the team. Two guys that are always known for missing time due to injuries. The whole goal of the game is for them to be healthy come April. And if they can do that, they should absolutely be a threat. Potential threats tier, and these are teams that are just below the heavy contenders because they have a few more flaws or concerns than the heavy contenders do. The Indiana Pacers, and this was a team that I really thought putting in the heavy contenders tier, but I'm just a little worried about them not having enough true star power heading into the postseason. Halliburton and Siakam are great, but I don't think they're as good as the other star combinations that are in the Eastern Conference. But the Pacers have more depth than maybe anybody in the entire league. Guys like TJ McConnell coming off of the bench and just creating havoc. It makes the Pacers a bigger threat than a lot of different teams because even if they have a guy get hurt, they have this next man up mentality and aren't really affected by it as much as other teams are. A few flaws. I do think that the Milwaukee Bucks are high in my potential threat tier and are near that heavy contender tier. I might not be a big Doc Rivers guy. I might not be a fan of their lower end bench, but when you have a duo like Giannis and Dame, they at any point could click and understand everything and figure it out, and Milwaukee could become a massive title contender, especially in the Eastern Conference. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who are coming off of a second round elimination last year. They fired JB Bickerstaff, who a lot of people believe was holding their team back, hired Kenny Atkinson, and I think Cleveland does have a really strong roster. They've got a great starting five in Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. Those are 4 out of 5 guys that I really do like. I know Garland had a down year last year, but I do think he bounces back under Atkinson. And even though their bench might not be great and they might not have a true elite superstar to compete with some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference that have elite guys along with depth, Cleveland should be a solid threat throughout most of the year. Potential threat in the Eastern Conference is the Orlando Magic. I actually had them a tier lower before making this video, but after re-looking at the rosters and rethinking, I had to put them on the potential threats tier. They are a rare, elite, young defensive team. You do not see that as much, and it is a great thing to have. If Franz and Paolo can get more efficient, if KCP can be the three-point shooting that they need, then Orlando can be just as good, if not even better than they were last year. They're a young team, and I really like them. 2 potential threats coming out of the Western Conference. The first of the 2 being the Phoenix Suns. And the Suns are a team that I like more this year than I did last year. The big reason for that is that they are going to have more depth. The reason they got swept by the Wolves last year is that their bench got crushed in most of the minutes that they played. It killed Phoenix because they needed to play their stars a bunch of minutes to even have a chance, and then they would be tired in the guts of the game, which killed them in the end. This year, they added Tyus Jones. They brought Royce O'Neal back. They're either going to make Josh Okogie a better player or they're going to flip him at the deadline. They have moves that have them structured to be a better team in April. Do I think that they're the best of the best? No, but they could absolutely be a title threat this year. The team I have in the potential threat tier is the Memphis Grizzlies, and they're a team that I think is getting overlooked by a lot of NBA fans right now. A few years ago, they were the number 2 seed in the Western Conference for a reason. Sure, they got upset by the Lakers, but they had an elite regular season for a reason. Ja Morant is a superstar. Jaren Jackson Jr. is an all-level defensive player. He won the DPOY a few years ago for a reason. Desmond Bane, he's an all-star level player. Sure, their depth is already getting hurt, and they might be cursed because I don't know why these guys keep getting hurt. But if they stay healthy, if their stars stay healthy, they should absolutely be a threat this year. Here is going to be the if everything goes right tier, which just by the name of that tier, you know what that means. In the if everything goes right tier is the Sacramento Kings, and they made a big splash this free agency going and getting DeMar DeRozan from the Chicago Bulls in a sign-and trade. And the fit is interesting because they have 3 guys who are not the best at three-point shooting. When you think of De'Aaron Fox, when you think of DeMar DeRozan, when you think of Domantas Sabonis, you don't think of three-point shooting. And in today's NBA, that is an interesting strategy. But they have the talent. They do have guys around them that can shoot. Keegan Murray, Malik Monk. They have a bunch of guys that can shoot, which could alleviate that issue. But for them to do something, everything would need to go right. Talk about is the Lakers, and I'm putting them here just because they have LeBron and Anthony Davis, and now they do have JJ Redick as their head coach, and while I'm uncertain about him, he should be an improvement from last year. And when you have those 2 guys, anything will be possible. But the reason I'm not putting them higher is because they've been a play-in team the last few years. We haven't really seen the Lakers have a elite regular season. They did have that good playoff run in 2023 a few years ago, but they were the 7th seed that year. And I just don't think that they can do it, especially in the year 2024. I'm going to go over is the Miami Heat, and I'm putting them here very similarly to why I'm putting the Lakers here. They haven't had a good regular season since 2022, and they've been a play-in team a lot over the last few years, and they didn't really improve their roster at all either. But I also know that for whatever reason, once every 3 postseasons, the Miami Heat decide to just wake up and turn into this elite juggernaut out of nowhere. And for that reason, I'm going to put them right here and in the if everything goes right and if they just come out of the play-in and dominate out of nowhere again. So going over the tier lists of contenders in the NBA today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless.